Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Just a quick introduction. My name is PC Portgieter. I'm currently employed by Fortress Real Estate as a sustainability manager. I studied quantity surveying at the University of the Free State. I then went to London. I spent 13 years in London. The first 6.5 years I spent as a consultant quantity surveyor, and the last 6.5 years I spent as a project manager with a developer. So yeah, I understand. I think the whole process of construction and the property sector really good. We came back in 2013, and I started as an asset manager with Resilient before moving into my current role with Fortress in 2017 and 2018. So like Portia said, I've been asked to talk to you about the future of sustainable energy in the property sector in South Africa. So in the next 10 minutes, I'll cover stuff that I think you know, and hopefully I'll be able to impart some new stuff onto you as well. So in the next 10 minutes, we'll cover, I'll just briefly touch on sources of renewable energy, how to become an energy manager for that matter, key roles and function of the role of energy manager, key competencies and skills required for the role, where and how the role functions, common challenges faced in this role, what the future of the role is, and then how this role will be impacted by current and anticipated changes. So I think there's so key sources of renewables. I mean, like you see there, renewables is energy that is replenished at a higher rate that they are consumed. For instance, sun and wind. But then we mustn't forget about geothermal energy, energy derived from biomass, wind energy, hydropower, solar thermal, and solar photovoltaic. I think in South Africa, people kind of think renewable energy or sustainable energy is only solar, but there's way more that need to be considered in this as well. So how to become an energy manager? I think there's several routes. You get a degree at a university or University of Technology, or you can even follow an apprenticeship. I think it's important though that your background is something practical and related to the construction industry, architecture. I said business studies because I think that you also get to have the skills to do it. But building construction, you can do a degree in energy management, engineering, environmental sciences, property studies, or like myself, that comes from a surveying background. So yeah, it's quite broad. It's not a narrow job description like you'll see in the next few slides. So the key roles and functions of an energy manager, I think, really is to, if I have to summarize it, is to develop, coordinate, and implement strategies and policies to become more energy efficient, to reduce energy consumption and to reduce cost ultimately. You need to encourage the use of renewables and sustainable energy resources within an organization and raise the profile of energy conservation, and then develop solutions for carbon management and reduction. I think you're all familiar with the importance of decarbonization and our obligations under the Paris Agreement in that regard. So yeah, so day-to-day activities, I mean, you guys can read it's no single day is the same. Energy audits, benchmarking, analysis, that's office-based. Then you can go out of the office onto buildings, carrying out site scoping inspections in anticipation of projects, monitoring and management of renewable energy projects, creating energy policies and systems, developing strategies. I think you can read through that, but I think what does it really mean? I'm in a lot of meetings with a variety of companies, from suppliers to different technologies to consultants and contractors. I walk on a lot of roofs, looking at solar installations, potential installations. I look at a lot of data to make decisions, and I think that's something that became apparent from the previous two speakers as well, is the importance of data to make informed decisions. We resolve tricky situations, practical practical solutions that we need to come to. The job is not just office-based. It's very hands-on. Like I said, we solve problems at real properties in the real world. But it is a nice mixture of office-based and being out and about. I think probably when you start your career, you're more out and about on sites, dealing with technical people, electricians, engineers, etc., because that's where you learn. And then at some stage, there's probably a change in that, where you're more office bound as you get more into the strategical role. But don't underestimate the opportunity of going to site and learning from technical people on site. It's very valuable. Key competency and skills required for the job. I think you have to have this passion to add value. And I think that's really something for any role. If you come into a property role, is we are here to add value. We are here to add to the bottom line and to make ourselves count. You need to understand energy. You don't need to be an electrical engineer or an electrician, but at least understand energy and how it works. I think you must be data-minded and analytical. I think coding will become very valuable just because of due to the amount of data that we work with on a daily basis, and trying to find those trends and solutions and getting to the bottom of the problem and how to address that. You need to be a troubleshooter and be a problem solver. I think you need technical and financial knowledge, and you need to be able to make decisions. And whether it's the ability to develop and assess business cases for implementation of energy efficiency opportunities. And you need to be flexible, because like I said, you could be on site today and in the office tomorrow. So where and how does this role function? Like I said, you can act at both an operational and a strategical level, depending, I think, where you are in your career. It also depends what time of day it is sometimes. You always work as part of a team, and that's probably one of the aspects that I enjoy most is the people that we work with. This interaction with, like I said, architects, electrical engineers, quantity surveyors, project managers, building managers, asset managers, accountants, executive management, board committees, and like I said, technical people on site. And I've learned a lot from talking to those people, because it's where the techie hits the ground, that's where things happen, and the technical people are right there at the sharp end. So don't underestimate that as a source of knowledge. So yeah, so common challenges. Obviously, every job has got its frustrations and challenges. I think generally speaking, electricity is complex, and so is electrical systems. Lack of existing information is always a pain, because yeah, if you need to add and make something more efficient, you can't find existing information, then you're running around in the dark, really. There's obviously changes to legislation and technology that is challenging, because it changes so quickly. Obtaining reliable data, coming back to this point of data management and analysis, there's lots of data that leads to monster spreadsheets. That is challenging. Building reliable and accurate business cases requires for capital allocation, just because of the amount of inputs that go into there. Yeah, like I said previously, we're trying to drive behavioral change, but there's resistance to change. At the moment with batteries and all of that, there's people that wants to sell you everything, and everything they want to sell you is going to solve the world's problems. But to see through the nonsense and get to the right equipment and technology is important. And then I think ultimately finding the recipe for provision of cost-efficient, stable and reliable energy. The future of this role, I think the future, it's a difficult one to answer. We know we can't keep burning fossil fuels. So the answer is finding a solution of what mix of energy will be best suited for different users. what blend of power will be best. Is it grid power? Is it solar voltaic? Is it solar thermal? Is it geothermal? Is it hydroelectricity? Is it energy storage? And more specifically, then, what storage technology is best? And I mean, then is it hydrogen? Do we need to start looking at these small nuclear reactors? I think the future of this role is expected to be transformative and pivotal in addressing some of the most pressing global issues like mitigation of climate change, energy security, and providing economic growth and job creation. I think the job is also expected to evolve and respond to various trends, and how these trends will mature. Grid modernization, renewable energy integration, energy storage, smart grids, data analytics, IoT advances, and AI. Coming back to the point of previous speakers, energy efficiency and demand, sustainability and ESG reporting, and this energy transition, fossil fuels to what? Where are we going? Yeah, and then to conclude, how this role will be impacted. I think the biggest changes in this role will evolve around efficiencies, implementation of new technologies, data analytics, and how we integrate energy systems using IoT, artificial intelligence, coding, and the like. Efficient and cost-effective energy management will become more complex as more energy sources are connected to the grid and more options in terms of energy procurement becomes available. Energy will become a commodity that is actively traded. I mean, in Europe already, energy is traded on a 5-minute basis. You can just think how that will impact this role. Like I said previously, electricity is complex and dynamic. I think the industry understands solar PV systems quite well. I don't think the same can be said of batteries and anything other than that. And then I think to close out, I think John Shaw might have summed it up when he said that the future is not a place we are going to, but one we are creating. The paths are not to be found, but made. And in the activity of making them, changes both the maker and the destiny. And I think that's exactly where we find ourselves with sustainable energy. We are creating the future. And on the way there, everything will change. We always joke and say it's almost like building a plane whilst we are flying it. We are solving problems as we go. It's challenging, it's hectic, it's sometimes even chaotic, but it's always very rewarding. Yeah, so that's me really. Thank you. And I don't know if there's any questions, then I'm all happy to ask.